Hey guys, and welcome back to New Earth Alchemy, where we're trying our best to battle societal norms that got us all trapped and whatnot. Last week we talked about boundaries with other people, and I was thinking about it and I was like, we really need to cover boundaries with ourselves as well. Because I think that we pretty all understand that we need to have boundaries with other people, but how often do we think about putting in boundaries for ourselves to keep ourselves in check? Kind of falls in with consistency, but also consistency is more or less a separate thing. And consistency is one of those things that a lot of y'all obsess over, and I'll try so hard not to talk about it for too long because I have episodes dedicated purely to consistency and how it does not look what you think it looks like. The world, it's up and down. Our society and culture makes you believe that consistency looks the exact same every day, but it doesn't. Consistency is up, it's down, it fluctuates, it flows. Sometimes it's a lot and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's few and far between, but if you set something down and then you come back to it a year later, that is still a type of consistency. You got to have some grace with yourself. You got to give yourself a little bit of leeway because life is hard. And it's too much for any one person to conquer all in of itself in like a short period of time. They say that we overestimate what we can do in a year, but underestimate what we can do in 5 years. So we need to take our goals and our consistency and how we think about things and stretch it out a little bit, make it broader, and above all, relax. None of it's worth it if you're not having a good time. None of it's worth it if you're sick, if you've made yourself sick through stress, working yourself to death and still beating yourself up about it. A little bit goes a long way, and it'll always be there tomorrow. And so boundaries are going to help you achieve these goals. Personal boundaries with yourself. And having boundaries with yourself is going to look like a couple of different things. And we're not talking about boundaries as in deprivation, okay? You're not having boundaries with yourself with food or whatever it is that you're trying to limit yourself. More so, I'm talking about focusing on the feelings and the energy, keeping yourself tuned to that which you want. Not the material things of what you want, but the energy of what you want, the feelings, the emotions. Happy, peaceful, thankful, healthy, energized, hydrated, well-rested. There's tons of them. We don't need to list them all. Having boundaries with yourself means putting yourself first, demanding that you put yourself first so that you can get to where you want to be, so that you can remain where you want to be emotionally if you're already there. Being aware of our belief systems and the processes that go on in our mind and where we may be self-sabotaging based on cultural formalities. Standards set for us, not by us, but by other people on TV or in our family from previous generations, oftentimes for a world that doesn't exist anymore. So we have to be aware and paying attention to everything that we're doing, saying, thinking, choosing, so that we can catch these unhelpful thoughts, words, actions, yada yada, when they arise and recalibrate. Having the discipline to tell people no every now and then. And for some of us, having the discipline to tell people yes from time to time, because some of us get really comfortable with the no. We find a sense of safety in staying in our house, isolated and alone, but that just exasperates our depression, anxiety, and loneliness. And sometimes we'd rather take a nap than go hang out with friends or family or whoever, try something new, go to a new place, explore the world. And I'm not talking like taking a trip to Italy, even though that type of world exploration is wonderful. And yes, let's absolutely do that. But it can be as small as exploring your hometown or the town that you're in if you're not in your hometown. Just exploring your environment, going for a walk. Sometimes you need the boundaries of, no ma'am, talking to self, you are not going to crawl back in bed and take another nap. Now, knowing the discernment between if you actually really need the nap, like your body needs that rest because you've been doing too much and you need to refill your stamina meter, then okay. But some of us, I'm very guilty of this myself, would rather nap than address the world or do anything sometimes. In which case, we need to have boundaries with ourselves on what is acceptable and what is not. Boundaries with ourselves around our priorities and our values. Have you made that list yet? Have you thought about your values and priorities yet? Because your values especially. Your values come first and your priorities build off of that. And from those two things, you create love for yourself and your world and your life, and you manifest everything that you ever dreamed of. And it may not be in riches and gold, but it may be in relationships, which are much more precious than gold, or good health, or there's a whole lot of things that we can, manifesting abundance comes in a lot of things other than money, jewels, cars, houses, and all that. Because what good is any of those things if you're still lonely, if you're still depressed, if you're sad and you're unhealthy? Not a thing. People don't become happy and healthy because they have all the riches. They get all the riches because they're happy and healthy already. And that means having the boundary with yourself to always put your energy first, your emotions first, your feelings first, in a healthy way, because that can there can be lots of toxicity in that. There can be selfishness and greed and triggering personal traumas that have nothing to do with other individuals. So know the difference between that. We are focused on the highest good for us all at all times. Because ultimately that's what we all want anyway, right? We want to be good people. We want to make a difference. But never, ever, ever at the cost of our own self, of our own health, of our own everything. And sometimes that looks like patiently yet painfully sitting through your 5-year-old's speech about Minecraft or Fortnite or something else you do not care about, and you have 1,000 things on your list that you need to get done, but they seem so happy. And gosh, how painful it is to sit here and listen to them attentively every single word. But that's what we got to do if our priorities, if our values are building a good relationship with them as a parent, so that they will still come to us when they're older, when they're adults. There's a quote that, and I'm getting off on a little bit of a parenting tangent for a second, but there's a quote I've always really, really connected with. And it says something like, when your children speak to you, always listen, because to them, it was always important. If they're talking to you, if they're sharing with you, savor that, because one day they might not, and that depends on how you treat them now with the mundane. Because to them, it's not mundane. To them, it's very exciting. And if you're dismissive of that, or if you're not paying attention, they're going to remember that feeling, that emotion, that energy that you gave them. And they are, in turn, going to start creating boundaries with themselves and you. And because they don't want to feel that. They want to feel loved and supported and cheered on, even when you're not interested in what they're interested in. Because you're interested in things that other people are not interested in, and you love to talk about those things, and it feels really yucky when someone dismisses you or is uninterested and doesn't want to talk to you about the thing that you're excited to talk about, right? And that's why remembering your values, knowing your values and your priorities are so important, because if you're going off of purely emotions, you might get a little sidetracked from time to time. We can think and act and speak with our heads, and we can do that with our hearts, and we can do it with our guts. And the best decisions for us and everyone around us always happen in the middle when we're using all three. So if you're just following your emotions and you're like, Savannah told me to focus on my energy, Savannah told me to protect my energy at all cost, and this kid is driving me crazy and I don't want to sit here and listen to this, therefore I'm going to escape this as quickly as possible so that I can recalibrate my energy and my focus and my vibrational frequency and get it back into attunement, then you just missed the assignment. You did not understand the assignment. Because the assignment is to create long-lasting happiness, peace, relationships, community, health, abundance, gratitude, all the things. Long-lasting for the rest of our lives. That's the goal. And we do that by focusing on the moment, yes. And we want to stack up as many of those positive moments as we can. But realistically, it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows all of the time. You don't gain anything without a little bit of challenge, right? Without a little bit of work. You have to work for everything. If you want the treasure, you have to go on the quest, and the quest is never easy. Or maybe it is, you get to decide. Because your beliefs create your reality, right? So if you believe it's going to be hard, then it's definitely going to be hard. And then if you believe it can be easy and it will be easy, then you can more easily find a way to make it easy. And that applies to literally all of this stuff. It's as easy or as hard as you want it to be, which just really translate into how bad you fight against what is. Because we get in our heads about what we think things should be and how we think things should look, and we fight against the progress that we feel that we are not making, when in reality we couldn't begin to imagine what life has laid out for us. We don't know what our best selves look like. We don't know what our best life looks like. We couldn't begin to imagine what the next 5-10 years are going to hold for us. And we often hold ourselves back by assuming, by being attached to the vision that we think it should be. Holding on to those strict and rigid ideas and thoughts and dreams and pictures of how it's all going to unfold. I was telling my friend Melissa the other day that, I used to work so hard, and I would just day in and day out, I didn't sleep. I hustled constantly around the clock because I wanted to be able to take care of those I loved. And to me, I thought that looked like monetarily. I thought that in order to take care of the ones I love, I needed to work really hard all of the time to make more money so that I could buy them food and clothes and trips and fun stuff. And I was running myself into the ground, and I was stressed, and I was snappy and short-tempered, unhealthy. And I was confronted with health concern after health concern that just knocked me into the bed for days. Which in turn, would hold back my hustle and my progress. And then I'd get mad about that being sick held me back. And then I would work harder and just rinse, wash, repeat, just to feel like I was spinning my wheels and getting nowhere. So one thing that changed that, though, was that I recognized this pattern within myself, and I gave myself some slack, and I created a boundary for myself with work. Because things are never done, okay? There's no finish line. It's just stuff every day, all day. To-do lists at work and at home and in between and all of the things. And you're never going to find a completion to that. And my productivity was top notch. From the moment my feet hit the floor at like 5 a.m. until I went to bed at like somewhere between 10 and 1 a.m. I was do, go, accomplish. And it was never enough for me. So I created a boundary for myself to be okay and rest and allow myself to rest. And I called it my productivity quota for the day. I would decide how much productivity was acceptable as my quota for the day. And then once I hit that quota, I would relax and allow myself to move more towards things that I wanted to do rather than things that I felt like I had to do, which in turn was stuff that gave me energy rather than drained me of energy, which in turn made me healthier and happier and less stressed. And then I was actually able to do more. So it's funny how doing less is actually leads to doing more, which is counterintuitive. That don't make sense to us. But I mean, I've heard it a million times. The less you do, the more you have. Less is more. But until you actually put that into practice, it doesn't make any sense. You can't comprehend it really. It's hard for us to wrap our brains around that. But anyway, I was telling my friend the other day that that's how I used to be because I wanted to take care of everyone in my life. And it's funny that I have landed in a position of where I do take care of everyone in my life, but it's not monetarily. It's emotionally and organizationally. I'm always there when the people I love need me, no matter what they need me for. I make sure that everybody's got food. And when we go on trips or something, then I always make sure that we have everything we need to be happy and not stressed and take care of ourselves. And the monetary part is coming. It's definitely increased substantially over the past year. But for the longest time, I was already taking care of the people I loved because that was what I valued and that was my priority. I was just doing it in a way that I didn't recognize as succeeding at my goal because I thought that succeeding at my goal looked differently. And I was too blinded by the attachment of this vision of accomplishment that I wanted that I didn't see it coming. I didn't even realize when it was already here and had been here for a long time. But I've always taken care of those I've loved. I'm the mom, not only to my children, but to my friends and to their children in a beautiful, healthy way, okay? Not a toxic way, because we can mom our friends in a toxic way, for sure. And more of us should adopt that kind of mindset, honestly. We need to mother ourselves. We need to mother everyone in our lives in a healthy way, in a way that supports them to be them, with giving them all the freedom and none of the judgment, none of the attachment to what we feel like they should be doing or should be or whatever, because that's for them to decide, not us. Oh man, I'm definitely going to make a whole episode on parenting yourself and those around you in a healthy way. But just like a good mother creates boundaries for her children, you also need to create boundaries for yourself so that you can thrive and prosper and be happy and all of those good, awesome things that life has to offer. And just like we cannot begin to know how our children are going to turn out and what their lives hold for them, we can't really begin to know how it looks for ourselves either. We can steer ourselves in a direction. We can push ourselves towards certain things, but also we don't want to fight them if they're not working out for us. If they're creating just more and more stress, then that's not the route that we need to take. The path of least resistance, right? Nothing's more important than your stress levels and your health. Figure out what makes you happy and do that as often as possible. Actually, genuinely happy. Find what brings you peace. Find what brings you connection and makes you feel less lonely. Figure out what it is that helps you in this world of torment and pain. Lately for me, it's come in the form of pickleball and sticker making. Do you know who Queen Herbie is? She's my favorite. If you don't know who she is, you should definitely look that up. Queen Herbie, Qveen. She also has a podcast, but she's a music artist, and she's been getting into bead making, and not bead making, but they call it beading, which is making necklaces and stuff with beads. And do stuff like this for as long as you want, as long as it makes you happy, and then feel free to recalibrate and try something else. Because I hate the myth that in this life we're supposed to stick to one thing or a couple of things, and we're never supposed to divert away from those. That whole a jack of all trade but master of none thing. The rest of it is still always better than a master of one. So a jack of all trades but master of none is still always better than a master of one, or something along those lines. Either way, it's promoting the diversity of skills. You want to be well-rounded in what you know and what you can do. By the way, you can totally buy stickers on the shop now at earthandwater.co. You buy one and I'll send you a couple at least. Especially if you tell me you heard it on the podcast. You email me or something and tell me that you heard you can get stickers from the podcast episode, and then you buy one sticker and I'll send you like 3 stickers. So anyway, create boundaries with yourself, not in the form per se of restrictions, but more in the way of sticking to your values and holding on to that even when it's hard. Paying attention to your energy and doing what you need to do in every moment to keep the highest vibration possible, which means being a little flexible with yourself and the world, and a little real with yourself, a little honest with yourself. Because sometimes we'll get things in our head where it's like, if I can just do X, Y, and Z, if I can just cross these 3 things off of my to-do list today, then I'll be happy. And then the world throws hurdle and roadblock and diverts you 1,000 times until you are stressed out and angry because I just want to accomplish these 3 things. Is that so much to ask? Then I can be happy. No, just figure out how to be happy right now with what's going on in the middle of the chaos, which often involves having a little bit of a sense of humor and taking things lightly, which honestly helps a lot if you can get in touch with your shadow side and the shadow side of the existence itself. A little bit of cynical humor, you know? The way I take things lightly most of the time is being like, shrug, it's all gonna burn down anyway. Which a lot of people would be appalled at the fact that that's my outlook, but I mean, sure does take the pressure off. None of us are getting out of this alive, right? And again, even the best of lives are too short. 120 years? That's a blink of an eye. And it takes us too long to figure it out. So just throw out all of the beliefs about how things should be, or what you should be doing, or what things need to look like, or yada yada yada, and just figure out how to be happy as soon as possible, as often as possible. Because when you die, nobody's going to care how much money you had, or what your car looked like. They're only going to remember things like, wow, she smiled all the time. They were always so nice. They were always made me feel good. They made me laugh. They made me smile. They helped me with this thing. All the rest of it, the shine, the glitter, that's just ego. None of it actually matters. All it's doing is distracting you from being happy right now, from being healthy right now. And then the craziest thing that you'll find is that the happier you become and the more chilled out, nonchalant you become, and then the healthier you become, the more all of the other things all the extra stuff will begin to unfold too, just seemingly by magic. You know, the law of attraction, like attracts like. If you're stressed out and unhealthy and angry, what type of things do you think that's attracting? And that's where, like, gratitude is a huge, wonderful tool that everybody's always talking about and things like this. Because why would the universe give you more if you're not already thankful for what you have? If I buy you a present and then you grumble about how it's not good enough and how you wanted this thing over here instead, I'm going to blow raspberries at you and not get you nothing else. But if I give you a rock that I found in the driveway and it lights you up, then I'm probably going to bring you something else. So here's a flower. Oh, now here's some food because you were happy about that. And me giving you something that makes you happy makes me happy. Because that's the nature of the universe. The universe wants you to be happy. They want you to be thankful and excited about the gifts that it gives you. Anyway, I'll leave all this here with you to ponder and whatnot. Let me know if you need anything. Take a deep breath, relax your face and shoulders, and I'll talk to you next week. Namaste.